Humans have been brewing beer since 11,000 BC, the beginning of agriculture. There are a lot of talk among ancestral ecologists that agriculture, the agricultural revolution, had nothing to do with growing grains to make bread, but growing grains to make beer. The argument is, think about it. If you take a bunch of nomadic people living in small groups, moving around, and suddenly force them into much larger communities where, quite frankly, life is difficult, beer and alcohol would make your life much easier to deal with this misery. So rather than growing grains for bread, there's very interesting evidence that grains were grown for beer production. Plus, grains at that time were infected with an interesting fungus called ergot that is a really good hallucinogen. And it appears that ancient beer was used as not only an alcoholic beverage, but a psychedelic beverage as well. No wonder you started growing a lot of grains. Now, the side effect of that was you could ferment grains also into bread. But it was probably the beer that started it all. So what does beer do to you? Well, unfortunately, beer is rich in amino acids that are called purines because it's made from yeast. And when these purines break down in our bodies, they form uric acid, which wreaks havoc on your metabolism. Now, uric acid not only causes gout, but uric acid causes high blood pressure. Uric acid damages kidneys. Uric acid causes insulin resistant. Uric acid increases insulin levels. So you don't want a lot of uric acid. If you need further proof of the dangers of uric acid, read my good friend Dr. Perlmuiter's Drop Acid book. But I'll explain here what high uric acid levels do. Number one, the higher your uric acid, the more you store fat. The higher uric acid levels, you increase your insulin resistance. So instead of burning food for energy, your body takes the food you eat and stores it as fat, especially in your belly. Uric acid slows your metabolism, making it easier to store fat and harder to lose weight. That's why so many beer drinkers struggle with belly fat. It's not just the extra calories. It's literally the uric acid making you store more fat. Now, here's the other big problem I have with beer. It's a huge source of gluten, and most of my patients have antibodies to it, which contributes to leaky gut. Now, when you hear antibodies, you think of vaccines and, well, don't I want antibodies to tetanus? Well, yes, you do. But antibodies are formed by our white blood cells when they see something foreign that isn't supposed to be there. And gluten is, in so many of my patients, a big cause of forming antibodies. So antibodies actually cause inflammation in your gut. And there's a war going on in your gut. And what happens in a war? Well, we have to supply our troops and we have to stockpile food and armaments for our troops. And guess where that war is happening? In your belly. And guess where we store the supply for our troops? In our belly. Okay, so that's not a good thing. And it's amazing. I do not have a beer drinker who does not have leaky gut and who does not have antibodies to gluten. So what happens when you quit beer? The good news, when you stop drinking beer, your body starts to heal fast. Your uric acid levels drop and your body stops holding on to fat. It's amazing. Weight loss happens naturally. Your metabolism finally works properly again. Cholesterol levels improve. Many people see their cholesterol numbers dramatically improve after quitting beer. Their gut health starts to improve. Well, what about hoppy beer? Is it better? Well, some people think hoppy beer is healthier because hops contain a flavonoid that reduces levels of pro-inflammatory microbes, which is true. Hops also carry LPSs, lipopolysaccharides, which, if you've read my books, are actual little pieces of you know what. I talk a lot more about this in my new book, The Gut-Brain Paradox. But that's not an excuse to use it for that purpose. You can buy hops capsules. You can buy the active ingredients in hops as a capsule. So in general, beer is not good for you. And it's a lectin bomb that destroys good gut bacteria. Well, how about healthier beer alternatives? Now, many people think switching to gluten-free beer, cider, or sorghum beer is a better choice. So let's discuss. Cider or any alcoholic beverage is usually packed with sugar. Even dry cider has actually got pretty high levels of fructose, which can also spike uric acid. Now, most gluten-free beers are made with corn or rice, both of which are lectins, which contribute to inflammation and insulin resistance. How about Bard's sorghum beer? Still got a lot of carbohydrates. And remember, we use alcohol, ethanol, preferably over any other carbohydrate as a fuel source. And so if you drink a beer, even a safe beer, your cells will use that alcohol first as a fuel. And then when you eat something else, your cells are already fine. They don't need any more energy, but you don't waste that food. You store it as fat. So what should you drink instead? Well, studies in humans are actually very clear that having the equivalent amount of calories of grape juice, red wine, or gin. Only red wine showed positive benefits in terms of a better microbiome and less inflammation. Grape juice was indifferent. Unfortunately, gin made everything worse. Worse microbiome, worse inflammation. So, if you must drink alcohol, a little red wine in moderation is a much better choice. You'll benefit from the polyphenols that actually support your gut and overall health. Remember, when we're going to consume a potentially dangerous food, alcohol, you better get a benefit from the danger of drinking alcohol. We see a lot of this on the news, but in fact, you'll actually get a benefit from red wine, and you won't get that benefit from beer, no matter how healthy it is. More amazing episodes just like this one. Watch now. Energy drinks are absolutely terrible for your health. In the past 5 years, emergency room visits from energy drinks have doubled, and some have even tragically ended in death.